Hello, I'm Ernest. I am the Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs here at Purchase College, and I'm joined by two dance alums, Kyle Abraham and Rena Bulter. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So I got a couple of questions, and I just want to know, what does it feel like to be back here at Purchase and being on the stage here and working with our students? So kind of give me what that feeling is of coming back and being here again.
Surreal for me, I think. The last time I was here and fully, I think, embodying what I believed to be an artist at the time, or how I was stepping into my artistry. Purchase for me was the playground. And to be back feels like an extension of that play. I think now in my adult self, a more fully realized artist, stepping into this production with essentially my brother, my dance brother. It feels really surreal. It feels like everything is in alignment.
It's probably more than full circle for me, really, because I think the first time I came back to perform was a work of mine called The Radio Show, a work that premiered in 2010. But that was the first time the company came back. But this engagement in particular is more than a reunion. It's more like a love letter to the school. Having works by Rena Bulter and Kirati Jinikoipot, both Purchase Dance alum, but also me getting an opportunity to showcase works that really, to me, encapsulate what my experience was here at Purchase. You're seeing a work of mine called Motor Rover, which uses a lot of the Cunningham training that I got here at Purchase, and a work called Show Pony, which is really like the kitchen sink of dance that really kind of encapsulates the experience at SUNY Purchase in the dance program.
Yeah. So tell me more about what we're going to be seeing this weekend at the performance. So tell me more about the work and how it came about, and be interesting.
Since yeah. So the first work on the program is a work called Someday Soon by Kirati Jinikoipot, who's a Purchase alum, who danced in my company since she graduated college and has gone on to choreograph works several companies and was listed as Dance Magazine 25 to Watch, Princess Grace recipient in choreography. And this work in particular is a result of her Princess Grace Award. So it's great to share that work with the audience. Another work will be a work of mine called Motor Rover, which is a work inspired by and in conversation with a work called Land Rover by Merce Cunningham. And the commission came from the Baryshnikov Art Center and the Cunningham Trust for us to kind of look at Merce's work, Land Rover, and think about what we could do or say in response to that. So it's a work for me that's really looking at the Cunningham technique and putting my voice and my lens on that material. And then we get to Show Pony, which is another work I choreographed as a solo work. And that'll be performed for the first time by Olivia Wang, who's a recent Purchase alum and a new company member. This is her first performance with the company, I think, on the East Coast, but it's her first time doing Show Pony. And then we get to the world premiere by Rena Bulter.
Rena?
Yes, well, it's interesting. I always feel like right before the premiere, the content for me shifts once you see lights, costume, and everything come together. But the original idea for the work was an exploration of King Kong, or just elements of what the movie King Kong represents for me and how I find myself in the world. Loosely based on that, I think what I've been trying to explore, I'm going to take my time with this one so it's really clear, is what it means to keep yourself in mental captivity. And the different ways that we do that, I think, unto ourselves, unto our relationship with an environment, and what it is to be enclosed or to be within a structured environment, and how that keeps determining, I think, your sense of freedom and your sense of peace, and it keeps hardening in that shell of a shell of the shell of the shell. Wow, I am still getting clear with what that concept is for me, and it keeps changing each time I see the work.
So
Yeah.
tell me about that, because when you create something, and then you mentioned something about it changes once you see the lights and the costume, and so what does that? Does the work continuously change? It's never frozen in a way.
Oh,
That every time it's
always.
performed, is it depending on who's there dancing? It takes on a life. So kind of tell me about.
I think so, yeah. It's like an incubation period, and especially when you make it to the production element of it or the production side of things, it feels like it pushes you to really be clear with what you're trying to say. Perhaps how the piece can be perceived, but that's completely out of your hands. So the best that you can do is just to be legible with the content, with the choices that you make. Okay, how does this light highlight the louder conversation happening underneath the physicality of it? So that's why I'm like, is it really about this? But I think, yeah.
No, I think also it's a thing, right, where and I'm sure you experience this with dancer shifts and changes. Every time a new dancer comes into a work, you're finding out more of what the essence of the work is, and it's helping you get more to the root of whatever it is you're making.
Yeah.
So are
Agreed.
you surprised sometimes when people comment on your work and you say, "Oh, wait," are you surprised by that? Because you're saying it doesn't belong to you anymore. Once it's performed, how people react to it is you have no control over that. So are you surprised sometimes that they take a totally different view?
I'm shocked a lot of times by what I hear, but I still think it's mine. It's still very much mine. I think in the same way that someone may comment on what I'm wearing or how I'm speaking or how I'm walking, that's all mine. But it's that person's perception or history that's going to influence the way that they see me and the way I present myself, in the same way that they'll make those assumptions about my work. So I can't have that control over the way that people see or respond to those things, but it doesn't take away my ownership of those things.
Agreed. I actually just get excited that anyone has any sort of feedback, actually, because we talk about this a lot, how we wish that people could regard dance the same way that they regard a Van Gogh painting, or they step into a museum and they can make up whatever decision they want to about whatever it is they're receiving in that moment. And I think people have a hard time approaching dance in that way. So to hear any type of, oh, it made me feel like this, or that was completely vulgar, I'm like, yes, and what else? I get excited that you can have a larger demographic having an opinion about what they think about a moving landscape or moving portraiture. It's great, and I think we're evolving, I think, societally to be able to be open more to concert dance.
And so do you watch your work, like when a student group or whatever, you're working with a group, are you there watching it behind stage when the performance goes on? Or, because I know some people say, I'm done with it, and I sit back and it's their work to do now, and so I can't, I don't look at it. So I don't know if that's what you do, or you're always invested in it, in the performance as it's happening.
I think it's a bit of both. Mostly I'm just trying to control my stress sweat, but I really don't. I actually prefer watching it behind stage because you can really hear a lot of the chit and the chatter, and while you can do your best to tune that out, it takes you out of your own work. And I haven't gotten to a point where I can sit there and watch it and be completely serene, because there are little things that that you wanted to accomplish that might not hit that night energetically. And there's something about being backstage and feeling connected to the people that you made this work with that feels more comforting for me.
Yeah, I don't know for myself. I don't think there's been many opportunities for me to be in the wings or be backstage, but I generally watch in the audience, and I'm trying to survey somewhat the audience, but also the way in which the dancers are living in the work or performing the work. I prefer them to live in the work, but trying to make the space to see that. But it's interesting, even as you're saying that, because I think about one of our teachers who passed away, Kevin Wynn, and Kevin Wynn would never watch work in the audience. He was always in the dressing room, whenever he was presenting work. So it's interesting thinking about. I think about his ways whenever I'm in a theater.
Yeah. You mentioned Kevin. I kind of want to go back and talk about your time here and what you got from your time here with the instructors, and do you feel that what if you got it kind of stuck with you creatively, that through your journey that is always a piece of purchase with you? I mean, just kind of tell me how this has, this experience has evolved into your professional careers.
Yeah, I mean, I only had about a year of dance training before I came here. So a lot of my dance life and learning and etc. was here at Purchase. I learned about Martha Graham. I learned about Merce Cunningham. I learned about imagery in dance. I learned about George Balanchine. And it's great to have had teachers there's some who loved the work of some of those dance makers, and there's some who loved the students just as much as they loved that. So having the encouragement of someone like Gail Young, who's passed on, or Betty Jane Sills in the ballet program, her love for George Balanchine is so evident in the way that she teaches. But also having the beautiful abstraction in Larry Clark's modern class, or Kevin Wynn's modern classes, or Neil Greenberg, who taught me a lot of different release techniques and helped me to get more in tune with my skeletal system as different ways of moving. All of that has greatly influenced the way I make dance and the way that I see dance today.
Yeah, agreed. I think my biggest influence was definitely Kevin Wynn. And I think Kevin is quite responsible for our connection because he put me on to Amberly Parker, who's also a part of Kyle's creative team and administrative team. And I think from there, just kind of imbued the beginning of my dance career. And to see the way he created and being in his works while I was in school, I just admired and idolized how free Kevin was in creating. And whether personally, mentally, he was grappling with how to organize and structure those very intricate, bombastic works. I just really loved how, for me, he was almost a Pollock in a sense of just throwing organized chaos everywhere. And I just thought that was so liberating. And I really look for that, or I try to keep those elements for me in my creative toolbox. Yeah.
So I've noticed that imagine most professions, it's a small world, and you end up running into the same people, and your path keep crossing. And so imagine that you run into other Purchase dance alums in your work, and I think some of you mentioned that's going to be dancing this weekend. So is there a sign that you kind of know that, okay, they did something?
Because we're the best.
Okay. Yeah. Is there something that...
It's like a swag. There's a swag.
There's a swag. We are movers. If anything, I think Purchase produces dancers who move and who move you. They move with their feelings. It's not just a technical grab. I think that there's a lot in a Purchase dancer. Yeah.
There's a lot of personality. There's personality that also goes with the technique.
Yes.
And I think it's different. There's some schools that I won't name where I think some dancers are so caught up on their personal aesthetic, maybe have a crazy hairstyle, that takes precedent over their dancing, and that's very evident, and I can tell what school they went to when I see those dancers. There's some dancers that are trained to be such a blank palette that you don't actually see any personality, and then there's the Purchase dancers that really figure out how to be themselves, but stay invested in the work and give you the steps and give you heart and personality.
And grounded pelvises.
Yes.
Every Purchase dancer I've danced alongside of or created with, it's that.
Very grounded.
Yes.
Okay. So what advice would you have for dancers who are about to embark on their careers? Is there something that you wish someone had told you, or that you would like to, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Chill out. No, I can think of a better one.
Were you 20 when you joined A.I.M, or were you 21?
I think I was 21.
Yeah, okay. Rena joined A.I.M when she was a senior in college. Yeah.
Woo! Learn the subway system is what I would tell my younger self. so many times I was late to rehearsal because I didn't know where I was going.
You as a relatively newbie, I
Right.
would get lost if I didn't have my GPS to get me around different places.
My big thing is always to stay close to friends and family and really continue to cultivate your support system, because everything is always changing around you, but you really want to stay grounded and really keep cultivating that support system.
Yeah.
So what grounds your creative spirit? That's your focus. You talked about A.I.M. It has this. Is it diversity? What is it that is kind of like your through line? That in everything that you do, is there a through line in your work, in your creativity, how you see the world? Is there something that kind of anchors you to this is what I'm doing?
Yeah, what do you think, sis?
I am trying to give myself a little bit more time and space, and that's something that I wish I would have digested a little bit more as a younger artist. You want to do everything right away, and you want to say yes, and you're so eager, and you need a job before you graduate. And a lot of my mentees that still attend Purchase, I think that's the number one thing that comes out of my mouth, is because they're like, well, I don't have a job, so I think I failed. It's like, child, you haven't even thrown the cap up yet. And I think we miss out on so many more opportunities and a fruitful experience if we don't give ourselves the time to arrive. And I really feel like I wish I would have taken that advice when I was younger. Granted, I'm not saying I really appreciate all the blessings that I've had, and I've had quite a few, but I just feel taking my time to say yes to things, or turning down things where I feel like I could have waited a little longer to approach it.
I don't know. I guess there's several things to say. Like, one is, my work, you're always, no, it's abstract. I think the thing that's a bit of a through line for me is, it's very clear to me that I'm hoping to present myself, Black, queer, American man. And the stories for me in some ways also intersect with my life growing up in Pittsburgh, regardless of how abstract the work is. And I think that that's really present. I don't know how it's grounding in certain ways, because a lot of those signifiers are things in their own right that are grounding, and have me thinking about my place, my space. When am I included? When am I invited? When do I feel welcome? When is it performative? When is it realized? All of those things are grounding factors in what I'm hoping to be doing and sharing with people. But other than that, it is still thinking about this support system and who can help me stay in check.
Great. Well, I think we're at time. So again, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it's all ours.
Thank you.
And learning
What
and hearing
magic.
about your, your origin story.
Prince and Janet.
Yeah, Prince and Janet.
I know y'all get to be somewhere at 10. So again,
Yes. Oh, thank you so much.